This is our channel, Unlost Life.
And we're a Philip couple, and this is where we will share our challenges and adventures.
This video is about our experience with the CFO process and what we learned. Quick disclaimer, we are not experts. This is just based on our own research and experience. No guarantees, but we hope this helps. We have a list of the documents requested by the CFO and a copy of our AOS and a link to the registration site for the CFO process on our page at unlostlife.com. And if you could like and subscribe to our channel, that would help us get this information out to more people. Okay. What is the CFO?
So CFO stands for Commission of Filipino Overseas, commonly known in the Philippines as PIDOS. Usually people who took that is people who's migrating to the other country. But recently, the Bureau of Immigration is requesting for that, and actually the CFO counselor is advising you to get that.
So even if you're just traveling for tourism,
yes,
and you're not immigrating to another country, they're now looking for that CFO certificate if you're meeting someone else,
especially
meeting a partner abroad.
Yeah, to avoid human trafficking. That's their way to prevent it. So I get my CFO to have a higher chance of not getting offloaded, because that's a scary idea of getting offloaded. You're wasted time, effort, and money, and it can break your emotion. So what I did is I register online first. I make sure that I register at like 7 a.m. because I heard that there are cases that they are limiting the people that they were going to entertain in each day.
And in fact, when we were checking the link for this video before we were making it, it looks like they're now restricting registrations to certain hours Monday through Thursday every week, which is different than when you even registered, because I think you registered on a Sunday or something. It was early, but
it was early. Yeah, so better do it early in the morning. I highly suggested it because I did my registration twice. My first one was, I think I registered it in the afternoon, so I waited for 2 days without hearing from CFO. And in the registration, you can see there that you can use your email address twice. So what I did is I have a second email. I use that, and then I registered in the morning using my new email address.
Yeah, so if you register with an email address, you have to wait another 15 days to use that same email address to register again. So because CFO had not contacted you, you went ahead and you registered with a second email address.
Yes. And there is this also one case that she didn't hear from CFO after second registration, so she decided to do it again for the third time, and this time she got the appointment for the CFO telecounseling.
So persistence pays off.
Yes. So don't wait too long. If you didn't hear from CFO, do it again. Make an email.
And tell me about, like, when you registered for the CFO, that the form was kind of confusing, wasn't it?
It was confusing because in the form, like we were planning to go to Colombia, and Colombia was not in the choices of destination. So that's the trick. So I decided to use the United States since my fiance is from United States. And then below that, you're going to choose your visa. And since I'm not going to US, I choose the PR card holder. Like, just scroll on the visas. You will find it almost in the bottom.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like they actually even pay attention to the information you put in here, because I mean they ask all this information over again. I mean, one, they didn't have Colombia as an option, but even when we were helping another person with their registration, and we decided to choose Brazil because, I mean, it didn't require a visa either, so we were hoping it wouldn't have the visa requirement. They still wanted a visa option. So the PR card holder option, once again, I don't think they're actually looking at it. And when it requires you to upload a visa. But what we did to kind of get around that, since we didn't have a visa, I think you just uploaded another copy of your passport, right? So,
yeah.
So she just used the image of her passport twice. Yeah. Which, once again, this is just kind of to get the process started. They ask for all this information over again. They don't even look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's important to make sure you have valid information. I'd use the actual passport, but obviously, I mean, they ask for it all over again. So
yeah, and if you don't have visa, you can proceed. So just send the passport image. Yeah. So after that, it was actually the same day I got an email from CFO. Finally, after a second try, they asked me to send my fiance's passport photocopy, and then my passport. I sent it to her, and then they messaged me with my telecounseling schedule and their list of the requirements that I needed to send to them.
Yeah, so I mean, once again, they asked for all that information over again. I think they asked for your visa and marriage license as well if we had one, but we didn't have either one of those. So
we're not married yet.
Yeah. Once again, they asked for all that information a second time, and that was before they even scheduled
for telecounseling.
Yeah, so they waited until you sent the information to them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So once you had sent a copy of both of our passports, then she sent you a schedule for your first telecounseling.
Yes.
And along with a nice long list of documents that they required as well.
A lot.
Yeah, and we'll include the full list that they requested on our page. But we'll just go through the stuff that we actually had. Some of the things didn't apply to us, but we'll list off in this video the different documents that they requested. Okay, so yeah, so okay, you even before we sent the documents, you had your first telecounseling.
Yes.
So what was that like?
So I was nervous. I was nervous because it's my first time to do these things, but she was nice. She was nice. I contacted her exactly 11 using the number they sent me. They like a mobile number. So if you're going to have your telecounseling, find a good spot where the signal is very good.
Yeah, make sure you have some load, right?
Yes, make sure you have some load. And make sure as well you have internet, because same as the issue with me, there was issue with the connection, like it was cutting, it was choppy. So what was our next option was Viber. So I called her Viber and it went well. So the questions she asked me was just the normal things, like how long we've been dating, where we met, and if she's divorced or not, if she's single or not, and where does he live, where you going, how long will you be staying in the country. And she even added a requirement in the counseling. It's not listed on the things that in the email, but she told me that she's requesting for my boyfriend's
police clearance, right?
Clearance,
and we'll put it on the list and on the site. But yeah, I mean, it's the long list of required documentation.
It was easy counseling. It's not that hard. but the list of the requirements was really long. So after that, we processed the papers. Like, we already did our AOS apostilled, and then we didn't realize that they're going to ask again for an authenticated handwritten relationship declaration.
Yeah, so just a word of advice, like if you're trying to get a jump start on all this paperwork and you want to get your AOS done, that's great. I would probably wait until you get the initial list of requirements. It seemed from the CFO, so it seems like they're kind of changing it up some, but it looks like, at least in our case, that they required 2 different things to be apostilled. And in fact, initially they told us that it needed to be authenticated by the embassy, by the Philippines embassy in the country that we were traveling to. Obviously, we talked about this in the AOS and apostille video.
Check it out.
Yeah, that's not necessarily the case. In fact, that's kind of impossible unless you're already there. But they still accepted our apostilled copy of those documents. So do yourself a favor, if you're going to apostille some documents, probably go ahead and wait until you get the list from the CFO to know what documents you need to apostille. Save yourself some extra shipping money. Also, just a note, we were intending on staying here until the Philippines opens, so we're traveling kind of indefinitely at this point.
Yes.
But we made all of our accommodations and all of our travel arrangements around a 2-week stay. It just was much easier to explain to CFO and also to immigration. Not that we were trying to mislead anyone, but it's just easier for them to understand the situation. We used a rental ticket for your return ticket, which once again we talk about that in that other video with the AOS and the apostilles, to kind of save money. So yeah, all right. So on to the list of requirements, or the list that the CFO sent us of the documents that we needed to submit. Okay.
So they asked for, since my fiance is divorced, we sent them the divorce decree.
And all these documents can be submitted electronically.
Yes.
I didn't actually have to
mail it.
Yeah, I didn't have to mail it.
Yes.
And also they didn't require that the divorce decree and some of these other documents be apostilled. Only the letter of relationship and our affidavit of support was apostilled, just as a note.
And the next one was the proof of relationship. So what we did for proof of relationship is just photos, like a screenshot photo, since we were just in LDR and we never met before. So just the screenshot photos. And photo of your passport. Again, passport, photocopy of passport.
Well, and also the proof of relationship, like we included some of the conversations and things like that, kind of just proof that more than just like our photos.
What I did for the conversation was I use one page and then just put a small clips of our conversation, because to make it not really clear, because sometimes conversation is confidential, especially to
Well, we put a lot of conversations on a page, but we just made them really small.
Yeah.
I doubt they read them. They probably bore them.
Yes. Because skip that, because you're going to need that in the immigration.
Yeah. So once you put this proof of relationship together, you'll want to not only submit it to CFO, but you'll want to keep that for immigration.
Keep that, yes. Next was proof of residence, which I use your tax return.
Yeah, and so proof of my employment and proof of my residence. So I had given you copies of my tax return, which also kind of proves my marital state. So it's proof of singleness. Since we don't have Cinemar here, which is a certificate of no marriage, right? So since we don't do that in the U.S. really, that tax return, because it showed that I filed singly, that was government proof that I was single. It proved my address. It also proved my employment. I also gave you a copy of my check stub for my
Yes.
work as well.
Yes. And we also make a short, like we make a document where we input our contact information, his contact information, my contact information, and my mama's
Yeah, so
contact information.
they wanted a list of my contact info, your contact info, and the contact info of your closest relative in the Philippines,
Yes.
and to indicate the relationship.
Yes.
Okay, and because you were traveling as a tourist or with a tourist visa instead of just immigrating, they also required additional information. And in fact, they had a note saying that this is based on the IATF guidelines for non-essential travel this pandemic. So this may explain why immigration is looking for these other documents as well, because it looks like this is coming from the IATF. But what were the other documents that they were requiring?
So they asked for the AOS, which should be authenticated, notarized and authenticated by the country where your partner is, and the handwritten declaration of your relationship, and
that declaration or the letter of relationship, I had to be created by me. I had to handwrite it. Had to include what is your relationship, like the nature of your relationship, how did we meet, how long we've been together, the purpose of our travel to the country that we're going to, and that I will accept the responsibility for her safety. Also, it had to include obviously my name and signature, and they wanted that apostilled or authenticated as well.
Yes, and they also asked me for travel itinerary, which we just made it. We didn't ask for help from agencies, because usually I saw this some of the couples who they really ask for the service of a travel agency for itinerary. So we didn't do that. We made our own. We booked our flight, round trip tickets and accommodations, and the travel insurance, which we also mentioned on the other video, so check it out.
Yeah, we use Safety Wing, and I mean it seems backwards to me, but you need to have your flights and accommodations before you get approved for your CFO. I mean, they listed it as a requirement, and then also they had told you verbally that they wanted my PCC, so my police clearance certificate, which in the U.S. we don't have something called that really. But I was able to get a basic background check from the local sheriff's office. I mean, it's a basic background check that they would run for employment or something like that, and they accepted that as well.
Yeah.
So, okay, so once we submitted all these documents, what happened then?
They will email you that they received the document, and then after that, wait for another email, because they're going to schedule you for a second counseling, which in the second counseling, they requested for the presence of my mama. So we did that. I waited for that, and unfortunately, it got canceled twice. And then I messaged them that, because it was just 1 week before my flight, and I haven't scheduled for my second telecounseling, so it makes me a little nervous. So I emailed yes, and I emailed them that I need to have my telecounseling very soon, because my flight is already near. So finally, I got the interview, counseling. It was a Zoom meeting. It was with me, my mom, the counselor, Miss Celine.
So and the original counselor plus the senior counselor.
Plus the chief, they called it the chief officer of their CFO. So it was very thorough counseling. Like, they asked my mom what can she say about my travel, and how can she make sure that that I am safe, or how will she contact me if she didn't hear from me, during my travel. And then, well, my mom said that because she trusted my fiance so much.
It's good to build some relationship with the family.
Yes, it's a must. So what their question about me was, how long we've been together, if I'm not scared, that our relationship might fail, and then what will I do if he will leave me here, like abandon me in our trip. And they even asked me about sex, like well, I was not prepared for that, because my mom, especially that my mom was there, like oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So those are the things.
Very thorough.
Yeah, very thorough. So prepare yourself, because they will even ask you about, do you even know the childhood of your partner? Because they asked me that. So it's very thorough. So prepare yourself, know your partner better, so you have something to answer,
Yeah, and I mean, another piece of advice, I mean, you had to keep on top of the CFO agent. You had to every day or every other day email her to get status updates, because they kept canceling things. So once again, this entire process, persistence is key.
Yes, it's
a balance between persistence and
patience.
Exactly.
Patience.
You don't want to be too annoying. Right?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
So, and after that, the counselor, the chief said, like, they're going to discuss it first with my counselor, and then they're just going to email me back. So it was Saturday, and I didn't hear from them until Tuesday, because I was really nervous, because they didn't email me back. And then but they sent me this process on how can I pay for the certificate.
Yeah, which that's a little bit of a challenge, and we might need to make a separate, like, how-to video for that. I don't know, but it does. They tell you it needs to be done on a computer. They tell you it needs to be done inside of Internet Explorer, which is just an old browser. So the site is not. It's not very reliable. That's probably the best way to put it. In fact, once we got all the way through the form on their site, it tries to take you to another page to pay online, to actually register your payment. If it tries to take you to that other page and it gives you a blank page inside of Internet Explorer, it's because the page it tries to take you to does not work inside of Internet Explorer. Of course, why would it?
Mm-hmm.
So what you would have to do is copy the link for that page and paste it into Chrome. We were able to get it to work that way, but it was pretty stressful.
Mm-hmm.
I did it on my end, on my computer, since you didn't have access to one.
Yeah, because it was still EZQ in the Manila, and I was staying in Manila, so internet cafes are closed, so I can't really process it. But my counseling, like 2 of my counseling, I just use my phone with that. So if you don't have computer in your telecounseling, it's fine, because you can access it in phone.
And that last part, it might work on a phone. Other people may. In fact, if you have experience, please leave a comment if it works in other browsers. Their email says to use Internet Explorer.
Yes.
And because of that, we didn't want to do something that would break the process. So
yeah. Okay. So, and after that, I paid it in Bayad Center. Yes.
And then we registered the payment online.
I sent the confirmation, like the receipt, to the CFO, and then they released the CFO certificate, which, oh my gosh, that was so much relief.
Yeah, so you receive a digital copy of the temporary CFO certificate.
Yes, but they're going to send you the sticker on your mailing address that you inputted. So make sure your mailing address is correct, because they're going to be sending the sticker for your CFO.
That's pretty important.
Yeah.
And then definitely print out your CFO certificate. Immigration will need to see that.
Yeah.
Well, that's great information. We'll like I said, we'll put some of the links and the AOS and some of the other things on our page at unlostlife.com. Please contact us if you have more questions, and good luck.